Well, it's the final session of the day, and we're very thankful to Tele2 for hosting, of course. Thank you, Anders. Thank you, Mariola.
You're welcome.
Just as a brief introduction, I'm Thomas Therkildsen with Syniverse. Syniverse is probably known to the majority of people here attending today. We are a global messaging aggregator and also working quite closely with many enterprise customers, especially in North America, where we are headquartered. We are part of Carlsson's private equity business and with a minority investment from Twilio. I think you know Anders.
Yeah, I've been here in this couch before, so, so I don't need a presentation, I guess.
Very good.
Yeah, we start.
So Anders and I, we agreed to a little bit of what we call a fireside chat. There's no fire here, luckily. But nevertheless, we thought we would take this opportunity to really try and address some of the topics that have been discussed today, but maybe also give it a bit of future perspective on what could potentially happen in our industry. There is so much support now for messaging overall, additional channels, OTT support from Apple and Google. So really, we as an industry have all of the different ingredients to make this a successful market. Anders, we discussed in our preparation for this that I think we had one bullet point on our presentation, which is Apple support for RCS ? And we have already been overtaken by reality, of course, this week with the announcement of iOS 18. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised when it happened. We have been struggling with the RCS part for some years now, since we were the first operator to launch in Sweden, and our management start to ask a lot of questions when it will happen. So I think this step will help a lot, but we don't know when it will actually happen in Sweden and our other markets, but very positive, very positive.
Agree. Certainly from our perspective, with the exposure that Syniverse has in the North American market, we will be following this very, very closely. I was very encouraged to see the analysis provided by Sinch this morning concerning the country-by-country analysis and looking at the ingredients that are required to really build a successful RCS market. So we are very encouraged by that at Syniverse to see that the American market will be taking off. I think it's got all the right ingredients at this point. Perhaps there's a little bit of a lack of OTT channel adoption, but that will surely come. Certainly the price points, when we look at termination rates for traffic, are quite attractive. And with the introduction of 10DLC and short codes in the American market, we have certainly noticed that there's a very, very big uptake from enterprises that want to leverage the new channels that are out there.
Mm. Yeah, I will say so. And regarding pricing of RBM, I think we have the opportunity to be a little bit flexible there, because it's a very new thing for the enterprises, and they really need to see that it works. So we need to help them there, I presume.
Yeah. I wanted to, I mean, we just had a really great session with mobile operators on the stage, you know, Tele2 included, Anders. Now, if I sort of look at it strategically, I think that there are a few choices that are coming around the corner here that you have to be aware of as an operator. Today, it's fair to say that a lot of people are really enjoying inbound termination revenue. And that's wonderful because the network is already there, so that's capitalized. And the aggregators have actually helped to really ensure that traffic volumes keep on increasing. But we also heard a very interesting point from Mariola a minute ago concerning enterprises that begin to produce their own applications and ultimately move traffic away from you as an operator into their own applications environment. I think PostNord was mentioned.
Yeah, PostNord is a very famous example here in Sweden. They were one of the biggest SMS A2P senders, but I think they have reduced by 50% or something, the traffic, and they want to reduce more, as I understand. So maybe with RCS we can take this back, because they have some maintenance cost, of course, for the app, and need to pay developers and stuff. So I think RCS can be a very nice use case for them as well. So maybe we can win that deal back within a couple of years.
I would put a challenger question here for you, because I mean, one thing, Anders, is to lose the traffic, and I mean that can happen. It can happen to all of us. But what skills are going to be required for you to have that win back? What new skills?
Yeah, it needs to be easy for them to use it, and we need a lot of help then from the aggregators, of course, because I don't think we will have our capabilities by ourselves. So we need to work very close with the entire market, and also put up a pricing that they are okay with, so to speak.
Yeah.
And have all the functionalities that they require, and really work on exact use cases. I think that's, yeah, we lack that today, because so few companies in Sweden use SMS. It's 7-8% of the total market, I think. So I think they really need some help to create use cases and see how they can use SMS and save money of that usage.
Yeah. But then again, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill struggle, because I would imagine that once as a user I begin to have my experience through the application, then what will need to happen for me to come back and use a different type of application?
Yeah, I'm pretty tired myself of those applications. You need to have a lot of them, so I think you can get rid of some of them. Would be grateful.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, good luck with that.
We'll see.
There's another topic which we also discussed that we wanted to bring to the attention here, and I think it's something you mentioned earlier, which is, is the enterprise messaging market, is that big? Is that a push market or a pull market? I think that was one of the topics that you had addressed as well.
Yeah. Today, it's a push. The retailer, they have the big member databases and push the messages towards their customers. Yeah. So also there, I think RCS can be a way. You scan a QR code and come in contact with the company. I think that's an excellent use case for many brands. Yeah, absolutely.
So when we discuss that, I think it's always kind of a good business practice and kind of textbook from the business schools that when you're in this nascent market, and we saw growth percentages for traffic in the hundreds earlier from presenters, it's probably fair to say that is actually a reflection of what you could call a nascent market. There's some initial growth here, and it's very, very aggressive, but it's albeit from a very small volume. So discussing push and pull market, there's a lot of effort being done to educate and to train the customers. But when will we get to an inflection point when customers are actually coming back and becoming what I would call second generation buyers? How do you see that happening?
I think it's very important to do this right from the beginning then. So the first thing they do will be a success, and they see really a win doing this. Then I think we can have them back. Yeah. Then we can win them, and they are continue using this. I think that's very important.
I agree. That's what we see from the North American market too. We're working with customers in the financial sector, in the hospitality sector, and every time Syniverse renegotiates a enterprise messaging agreement, we get a much better qualification process in doing that with our customers. They actually come to us and say, look, we're happy to consume your services, but next time we want to consume them in a new fashion. in a new way. We want new use cases. I enjoyed the comment from Link Mobility earlier concerning use cases, because it's no longer a matter of putting out volumes and price points for A2P. It's about transferring that experience to new use cases and keep on building on that environment.
Exactly, we can build on that and then it will increase by itself.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
But we need to start somewhere.
We need to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And need to start somewhere in our perspective is there is a set of building blocks that are going to be required to be successful as a mobile operator, as an aggregator. We've heard from the aggregators today on that. We've also heard from the operators. Fraud and customer experience seem to be the big talking points here in Sweden and the Nordic region. But what other recommendations do you have for operators who want to move to the next level?
I think they should be open and put some effort and resources on this, because I think it can play an important role in the future regarding business messaging in general, and also other topics like mobile ID and that kind of stuff. I think it's really important that we start to do something there, because I think that use case is very interesting. With the silent verification, for example, you can verify the customer in the background, so the user experience will be excellent. So I think we need to get into those things as well. Yeah. And use all the network capabilities we have, all the information.
Agree. I mean, it's there's a charge and billing relationship between you as a subscriber and your mobile operator. There's hardly any billing and charging relationship between you and your OTT. You're consuming a free service. So who is going to get the customer complaint in case this goes wrong? That will be the operator. It won't even be the aggregator like ourselves. It will be you. So there's a onerous task, you could say, of fulfilling that customer obligation. But on the other hand, there should also be a reward for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we as an operator, we don't have any interest in WhatsApp, for example, except them for our B2B sales and the CPaaS they sell. But I, as work in the wholesale, we don't like it. Yeah. It is data, but that is only revenue we'll get from this, and it's very small amounts. So yeah. We need to focus on RCS.
Yeah. And that leads me to one observation that I certainly have learned throughout my career, is that when we look at nascent markets and we look at, okay, so what are the driving forces? I think it's fair to say that this industry for messaging, and I didn't share this with you, but certainly my observation is that this is, you could say, retail-driven, meaning enterprises will need to drive this. It needs to be wholesale-enabled. And by what I mean by wholesale-enabled is that we've spoken about these building blocks that need to be in place, signaling firewalls. We have spoken about, content classification. We've spoken about many different aspects that an operator needs to have in place. But those are wholesale enabling what eventually is becoming a retail market. So I agree, need to focus on the new channels, RCS included. Need to focus on exposing those use cases and highlighting the successes of CX improvements, propensity to buy, click-through rates, because the future purchases of the services will focus on those KPIs.
Yes. And as many people have mentioned today, we need to work very close, aggregators, operators, organizations, SMF, and everyone to succeed. And I think should put a little money into marketing as well, both for RCS and A2P SMS. I think the potential is still very high.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Well, speaking of the sort of the business case aspect, if you are to recommend your bosses to put more money into RCS, and some of your bosses are here, I believe. What are the sort of the key characteristics that you focus on in your internal recommendations and business case?
Yeah. I don't know exactly, but maybe, yeah, things take always longer time than you think. So don't expect revenue to come like this. We need some time to build this business and focus on good fraud prevention tools, and so we can protect the customers. Focus on easy APIs and stuff, build them so it's very easy to use. So we can get a lot of volumes in an easy way.
Yeah.
No other thing than that. Easy.
Well, sorry to put you on the spot, but I think that's an interesting dynamic to keep in mind. Certainly some of the experience that we have, as I mentioned, renegotiating our contracts means a bit of a risk, but it also means exposure to new use cases. Volume is always important in our world, in the telco world, because we want to get better utilization of our network infrastructure. But volume also needs to be translated into retail revenue, to come back to that point. So maybe one of the points we could just spend a minute on discussing is the change of commercial model. Today, A2P, it's fair to say, it's a wholesale service. You're collecting the inbound revenue, there are termination fees, etc. It's basically a single unit price. How do you see that changing? Are you able to sort of convert the story about charging and price points with your customers?
Yeah, we have put some thinking into that, but I think it's very easy with a single price as well. But I don't know. We are open to discuss models, but what if an aggregator or B2B client come to us and say we can transform emails into SMS? Then we can discuss pricing. Absolutely. If we have some real volumes.
Yeah.
So if we can find new traffic cases, then we are open to discuss.
Yeah, yeah. And the GSM Association has been recommending the so-called token model for RCS. What's your perspective on that? Do you think that's a reasonable way of sort of gradually introducing new models for RCS charging?
Yes, we have put the pricing right now. The model is very similar to the A2P with some extra than for conversational stuff. But yeah, we think you need to find the right level and see what the market are willing to pay. But if the use case, for some use cases, I think the value is very, very high. So maybe we can charge more, but it will not be too complicated. I think that will kill us. Yeah. It must be an easy model. Very easy. So all the B2B understand, aggregators understand, and we as an operator also understand what we are selling. So.
Good point. Good point. Always know your product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And on the topic of know your product, let's turn that around to know your customer. So I think you mentioned sender ID and verification process.
Yeah, exactly. And know your customer. That goes into the network APIs a lot, and that I think there's a big interest for the market to buy that kind of data from operators, to have another source to check against when they do some check. When some e-commerce company have a customer that do the checkup, so we can have an operator as an extra check, because we are sitting on so much data. So I think that could be very valuable, and also they are willing to pay some money for that. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, we saw I would say a reasonably big interest after the introduction of PSD2 banking regulation that came a few years back. That really drove a lot of value for us in terms of working with our financial sector customers. There was a greater interest in customer verification, in account verification, and the whole ecosystem around digital banking. How do you see this regulatory regime playing into helping to advance the market?
Yeah, I think it can help us. I try to convince the company to do more with carrier billing, for example. I think the opportunities there are very, very high. And I think it's a great opportunity. I think you can find so many use cases that can use that kind of billing. And yeah, in Sweden we have a lot of unbanked people that can't use bank ID and that kind of stuff. So carrier billing, pay with a prepaid card or something is a perfect setup. So
Yeah.
I think we should do more there.
It's interesting you mentioned that carrier billing because I was under the impression, living in the Nordic region myself, that most people would be, fully banked digitally in Sweden. But you're saying that that's actually an opportunity. You see that as an opportunity?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of those untapped resources that one can think about in our part of the world still.
Exactly. I think some countries they have a very big carrier billing business, but it's very different between the countries.
Yeah, agree. Anders, what more did we put on our little roster sheet?
I have my sheet.
You got your cheat sheet.
See if we have something more here. Yeah, we had this thing with channel orchestration and how to manage those. I think that goes into CPaaS offerings then.
Yeah, that's a
What do you
very
think about that?
interesting
Syniverse.
point. Because when we look at channel orchestration, CPaaS capability, call it what you like, it's probably fair to say that there's not going to be a single channel in the future. I think we heard about that earlier today, that SMS was really that particular channel that gave us access globally without any constraints. From our perspective, we really believe that there's going to be a multi-channel or omni-channel requirement to operators. We recommend that everyone considers the introduction of multi-channel capabilities, and certainly from a Syniverse perspective, we're adding on more channels into our offering on a gradual basis. We are currently in talks with a number of OTTs, both in Asia Pacific, but also in the US. No names mentioned, but you all know who they are, to be able to incorporate them into our offerings. How does that feature, do you see that to be equally important, or will you be making some bets on select channels?
Yeah, I think SMS is still valid, and RCS, of course, and yeah, email will always be there with a bad conversion if you do marketing stuff, but it's very, very cheap, so to speak. But apart from that, yeah, maybe some OTT apps, but we're fragmented. Maybe some apps are bigger in that country and some other in that country. So, yeah, we will see.
Yeah.
We will see.
And do you see that cross OTT channel or cross channel communications is going to be important, or do you think that most channel communications will stay in their respective swim lanes?
Yeah, I will see. I see some use or some examples in the CPaaS solutions where the conversation started in SMS, and then the client returns with a yes, and then an email will be sent out with an agreement, for example, and then you can sign it, and then it will go back, and so you can build very advanced things. But I think here the enterprises they need really some help, because it requires a lot of work in their own systems. I think they are not that happy doing that.
Yeah, that's also been our experience at Syniverse. We've seen various conversations that are around RCS and fallback to SMS. that's fine. You could call that a cross-channel conversation. You could also just call it, you know, a fallback. But as you mentioned, there is a need to convince the enterprise, and there's also a need to understand the requirement to be able to have that cross-channel experience. But there is potential, as you said.
Yeah,
if you're a bank,
you can build very nice stuff, but
and
it
if
requires a lot from the enterprise.
It does.
Themselves,
Yeah.
a lot of resources.
Yeah. And
Money.
I'm not even sure I feel comfortable about signing a loan document that I have requested through an SMS. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, we'll see. See what happens.
Yeah. Very good. I'm not sure that we had much else to cover. I mean, we could probably sit on and chat for days, or maybe hours. But Nick, I think you wanted to make sure that we sort of wrap up and close the day, right?
Well, you've had what's called the graveyard shift here, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Because I've
Thank
seen
you.
a few droopy eyelids up there. So, are there any questions for the guys down here? No. Okay. I think you've answered everything. So
Okay.
Not only the two of us, but I think throughout the whole day, lots of questions have been answered, and we really appreciate the time and the support from both MEF and from Tele2.
Thank you.
That's
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.